Lauren. Thank you. Germany reportedly has a plan to deploy 800,000 NATO troops into Ukraine if Russia invades a NATO country. Christian Whiten, former State Department official, joins me now. Have I got that right? If Russia invades a NATO country, Germany deploys 800,000 troops, including Americans, into Ukraine? That sounds like they're planning for World War III.
It does. It's pretty weird. It's a weird signal to send at this point. Yes, they would react, of course, but Russia isn't poised to invade any NATO country. You know, as bad as Russia has been in this war, we have to remember they've only been able to occupy the lands that are mostly ethnically Russian, that are adjacent to Russia. They haven't been able even to get to the Dnieper River or take Kiev. The idea they're going to be in Warsaw tomorrow and Berlin the day after that and take the Baltics is just outlandish. There's no real threat of that.
But NATO countries like Germany should have a plan just in case, because you never quite know what's going on here, do you?
That's right. And the ballistic missile that was fired was probably, it was a message from Moscow that they are really, really upset that U.S. and British long-range weapons are now being used inside of Russia. They've used that as basically American and British attacks because we make the missiles, we provide the targeting, and they think perhaps erroneously that U.S. officers are actually involved in the command and control of those weapons. But that was probably a message to German Chancellor Scholz that Germany can strike Berlin directly if needed. And he sort of mentioned the possibility of using nuclear weapons, even if the other side doesn't use nuclear weapons for. So,
as an American, looking at everything that's happening in the world right now is absolutely horrifying to me. Now, to be clear, it's not like I'm shaking and shivering in my boots. I'm not living my life in fear or anything like that. What I mean by this is people like me and people like you watching this video, we are in the minority in this country. We are a small minority of Americans that actually give a damn about what's going on in the outside world. And it's horrifying to me to know that most Americans, most of your everyday average Americans, they don't even know that this conflict is even happening. They have no idea about the escalations that have happened over the past couple of weeks. So yes, it's scary to be an American knowing that my fellow Americans are not informed about what's going on. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is preparing. They're digging in and preparing for a massive war, a world-changing war. And it's not just one country, it's not just two. It seems like basically the entire world is getting ready. They're getting their citizens ready. They're letting their citizens know what is probably coming. Meanwhile, here in America, no one gives a damn about anything. No one takes anything seriously. I think it's crazy that we got other countries passing out pamphlets, passing out plans, telling their citizens plans on what to do when this war starts, telling their citizens to buy generators, get ready for the winter, stock up on food. They're preparing their citizens. Meanwhile, over here in America, we're not prepared for anything. Like I said, most people don't even know this stuff is going on. We're not as informed as we think we are here in America. And it's not like we don't have access to some of this information. It's just that we have access to way more distractions than I think the rest of the world does as well. So maybe that's one of the excuses as to why a lot of Americans aren't informed about what's going on, but also our government. Our government is never transparent with us about what's happening in the world. You may think they are, but they're not. When you have other countries passing out pamphlets, telling people plans about what to do if this happens or that happens, and here in America, we can't even be bothered to tell American citizens, hey, it looks like things might be getting bad. All of these other countries have plans for when the bombs start dropping. They know where to go. They know where the safest location will be in their city. Do you know? Do you know where the nearest bomb shelter is? If bombs started dropping on your town or your city today, would you know where to go? No. You would have no idea. because all of us are unprepared. Now, as Americans, we have the right to bear arms. A lot of us think we're ready for whatever. But the reality is we're so detached from the actual reality of war that a lot of people experience throughout the world. And as I was just stating, all of these major cities, even small towns, small areas throughout Europe, they all have a plan. Kids 6, 7 years old, they know if the bombs start dropping, they know where to go. They know where they will be safest. They have points where everyone will gather. They got it all down pat. Here in America, we have none of that. Here in America, if there was a strike on an American city, it's full out freaking panic and chaos. There is no plan. There's not a single person in the city that would know what to do. And over here in America, unlike much of Europe, especially places like down here in the South, we don't got subways and underground railways where we would be hiding and stuff like that. So all I'm saying is it's kind of frightening seeing that the rest of the world has a plan for what seems like is the inevitable at this point, but America doesn't have a plan. America has their head stuck in the sand. And that's not to say that we will lose this conflict. And yeah, I know that the elites and the politicians, they have a plan. Like I've already reported, they're building bunkers and getting ready. Sure, they have certain strategies for what the military would do, but everyday U.S. citizens, we have no idea what would happen. And I say that as someone, listen, if bombs started dropping on my city today, I don't know where I would go. It's not like we've been given a pamphlet with a plan, you know what I mean? So yeah, it is kind of frightening when you really look at what's going on in the outside world and you see that, oh man, over here in America, it's like, I don't know, it seems like America is the hub of the world, but at the same time, I never felt as isolated as I do right now. And when I say isolated, it's not just about where we're located on the map, it's about how people's minds work around me. I feel like a lot of people are isolated into their little lives and they don't even pay any attention or put any thought into what's going on in the outside world. And that must be great, right? That must be a beautiful feeling to not have any concern at all. But I think the time for not having any concern, I think that time has passed. I think now's the time for people to get informed and get ready. Because if we were informed, if we weren't just coasting by, not worrying about anything, we wouldn't have reached this point. If we were educating ourselves, if we were aware of what was going on in the world, things would have never have gotten this bad. Things got this bad because we kind of coasted on by. Like we're on a surfboard, surfing USA, nothing to worry about here. But I'm going to go ahead and roll this news clip. Let's see a little bit more about what's going on, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
President-elect Trump meeting with the new head of NATO at Mar-a-Lago this week. It is their first meeting since the election. The NATO spokesperson saying they discussed a range of global security issues facing the military alliance. And this comes as tensions are growing overseas tonight. NATO scheduling an emergency meeting for next week after Russia hit a southeastern part of Ukraine with an experimental hypersonic ballistic missile. That Russian missile, nicknamed Oreshnik, or hazelnut tree, traveled 800 miles in just 15 minutes, striking the town of Dnipro. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin claims no other country possesses a weapon like this. Its range puts several NATO bases within range of this new missile, including a U.S. anti-missile base in Poland. Russian officials calling it a priority target. News Nation's Alina Shirazi live for us in Washington as Russia is making cryptic threats to the West that it could soon retaliate against NATO countries. Alina.
Natasha, good evening. Yeah, we know Russia launching a brand new nuclear-capable ballistic missiles for the first time. We know that this move is putting global leaders on edge and could possibly complicate negotiations for the incoming Trump administration, who has said time after time that their goal is to end the war in Ukraine on day one.
Russia's new missile could widen the war, with the new weapon testing relations between Moscow and the West, especially with concerns to U.S. troops. Russia deeming a newly opened American military base in Poland a, quote, priority target for potential neutralization. It's located about 90 miles from Russian territory. The base is focused on taking out short to intermediate range missiles like the one Russia just tested. It's not clear how many troops are based there, but there are about 10,000 U.S. soldiers stationed in Poland. This video shows Russia's experimental hypersonic missile coming down on its target, the central Ukrainian city of Dnipro, just 2 days ago. Putin says the intermediate range missile can travel at 10 times the speed of sound, has a range of up to 3,400 miles, and carry multiple nuclear warheads, with the Kremlin set to continue to test the hypersonic missile and start mass producing them. Russia says it warned the U.S. 30 minutes before launching the new weapon.
This was a new type of lethal capability that was employed on the battlefield. So that's certainly of concern to us.
Putin suggested in a televised address that the attack is in response to President Biden giving the green light for Ukraine to use American-made missiles to strike inside Russia. He also warned the West the new missile could be used to attack any Ukrainian allies, and they could not intercept the missile because no countermeasures exist today. The Biden administration responding to Putin's threats by doubling down on support to Ukraine.
Of course, we're going to take seriously the rhetoric coming out of Russia, but our focus remains on arming Ukraine and supporting Ukraine what it needs the most on the battlefield. And as a reminder, as this reckless rhetoric continues, Putin can choose to end this war today.
And we know early next week, NATO and Ukraine will be holding emergency talks about the missile strike, with officials saying the now over 1,000-day war is entering a crucial period. Natasha.
So let me get this right. Trump isn't even in office yet, and he's already having peace talks? Why couldn't we have these peace talks under Biden? I don't get it. I honestly, it doesn't make sense. We got the heads of NATO already meeting with Trump, looking for solutions, as if Biden isn't our president right now. And you can hate Trump, you could love Trump, I don't care. I think that this says a lot about the current administration. I mean, after all, as Biden is on the way out the door, he's the one that gave Ukraine the go-ahead to use these long-range missiles, knowing damn good and well that this was going to take this conflict to the next level right before he leaves office, so it won't be his problem anyway. But this says so much about the current administration, where there's no possibilities of peace talk. The head of NATO isn't meeting with Biden, they're meeting with Trump. Now, I get that Trump's the next president, I get it. But hell, what about the current president? It's insane. It's insane. But now we got this big meeting that's going to happen with NATO. What do you think they're going to be discussing there, folks? They're having a big meeting for what? Are they going to be drawing up more plans for World War III? You already heard at the beginning of this video that Germany already has their plans together. Meanwhile, as I was just saying earlier, here in America, Americans don't give a damn about any of this, folks. Listen, if you're someone that lives overseas, maybe you live in the UK, Australia, wherever you live, if you're someone that lives somewhere besides America, let us know down in the comments below. I know I have a lot of international viewers. I cannot stress to you how much Americans don't give a damn about anything happening in the world. Okay? Americans do not give a about anything happening outside of America, for the most part. And in many ways, I can be guilty of that as well. So I'm not trying to pretend like I'm better than anyone else. But at the very least, I pay attention to what's going on in the world. And I am very concerned about what we're seeing. And it is very concerning to me that everyone else is prepared but us, at least as far as citizens go. And now we got this emergency meeting happening. And I'm really afraid what this emergency meeting really is. I'm afraid about what this emergency meeting really is. Because I have a bad feeling that there's a possibility that when they come out of this emergency meeting, that they'll have a plan to do something stupid to make this situation even worse. And the reason I feel that way is because that's how things have been going lately. I don't feel that way for no reason. Like I said, Biden giving Ukraine the go-ahead to use these missiles when Biden is on the way out of the door, it made no sense. If anything, you wait until the next administration. And if the next administration gives them the go-ahead, then hey, we'll handle that then. You don't make these big moves while you're on the way out unless you are purposely doing something to sabotage the next administration, to sabotage America. This should be a crime. It should be considered a crime. You're trying to drag the world into a war that the world doesn't want, so politicians can line their pockets. It's just all so sickening to me, watching how this is playing out. But knowing we got this emergency meeting coming up, yeah, I'm definitely concerned about what will be discussed during this meeting and what type of plans they may draw up, because it looks to me like they're going to get their war regardless if we want it or not. The American people voted against it. I know you all out there in various countries, I know you don't want it, but NATO wants it. The heads and leaders of our country, the people who are pulling the strings, and I don't just mean USA, the heads of our countries, the heads of all of these NATO countries, they want this war. And they're going to get it one way or the other. That's the way it looks like right now. But you let me know what you think down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.